There is an epidemic. That epidemic is very clear. And it is evident in the fact that if you scroll back through this channel, we are talking about penalty shouts, perhaps more than any other single topic outside the Turkish league and my bowel movements. And that is because with the introduction of VAR, these penalty shouts are getting more complex and more complicated than they've ever been before, right? Because something looks one way in real time and something looks a different way in slow motion. The latest, greatest penalty shout and debate is the Bukayo Saka penalty call in the Arsenal-Bayern Munich match. This was right at the end of a match in which some dude just randomly decided to pick up a ball, right, for Arsenal. That was weird. And then the ref's apparent explanation to Thomas Tuchel, the Bayern Munich coach, was that it was such a children's playground mistake that the guy just happened to pick the ball up in the box that he didn't want to tarnish the game by blowing his whistle, which is a very middle school referee, youth league referee type answer to give. Everything about this game was weird, and the entire day was weird because the Champions League was actually exciting, which is a giant pivot from what we've gotten from most of the season so far. I know that means a lot of some of you will say I don't know ball, but let's be entirely honest. Were you enthralled by that round of 16? I didn't think so, but the Champions League is here. It is here with a vengeance now, and right towards the end of this incredible tie between Bayern Munich and Arsenal that delivered. I thought Arsenal was actually going to walk that game, I thought Bayern Munich was going to walk that game like a wounded animal in the corner ready to lash out because they can't win the league anymore. And Arsenal answered the bell. This team seems to have turned a corner in terms of handling these types of moments. But the important moment right at the end of the game is Bukayo Saka trying to draw a penalty. Let's observe. We have Bukayo Saka, we've got Manuel Neuer, and Bukayo Saka goes down. And that is essentially what happened. Now, this sparked multiple rounds of debate. Initially, based off of the camera angle of the game, which I'm not going to show you here, it looked more like a penalty. In real speed, kind of from behind the play, this looked like a penalty, right? Because in order to determine whether this is a penalty or not, you have to see the distance that's covered between Bukayo Saka and Manuel Neuer. And that is best achieved, essentially, with the two angles that I just showed you. First here, we see Bukayo Saka stick out his right leg in order to try and draw the penalty, right? And then from behind, you can see the fact that this is a very clear attempt to win a penalty. Now, there are a couple of things that have happened since, right? People noticed that Bukayo Saka was sticking out his leg, and then right after the game, it went from a giant debate about whether it was a penalty or not to just bashing Bukayo Saka for trying to draw a penalty. People were digging up other footage of Bukayo Saka, perhaps in more questionable circumstances, attempting to draw similar penalties. It sparked all of these different spin-off debates, some of which I actually want to talk about. But let's lock in on what's actually going on here, right? Because players are trained tricky little ways to bend the rules. That's how this works. This is world-class sport. There is no better field with a better 22 players you're going to find anywhere in a more important club competition. It's the UEFA Champions League quarterfinal, right? These are the 8 best club teams that we can rub together in this year. Right, but yeah, you'd love to include like a Bayer Leverkusen. They're still unbeaten, right? But they only qualified for the Europa League last year, so that's where they are. These are the best teams. This is the biggest stage with the brightest lights, and these players are going to fucking flop. It's what they do. And the reason they're going to do it is because that gives them the best chance to win. And the reason I am normally defending players flopping is until the officials decide that they want to officiate the game in a way that disincentivizes players from doing this. If you're a player and you're trying to win the game, bend the damn rules. If I don't know if you saw this or not, but Ben White on Arsenal getting tapped in the neck and going, like if you think that gives you a better chance to win the game, then do it, right? Because their goal here. Your wage is being paid and your history is being decided, right? 50 years from now, people won't remember how you won the Champions League. They'll just remember that you won the Champions League, right? Unless it's literally Maradona's hand of God, right? The way, if you happen to bend the rules a little bit to get there, nobody cares, right? People care about winners and losers, and that margin's incredibly fine when a match is 2-2 in the 88th minute. So I do not blame Bukayo Saka for a second for trying to draw a penalty. But I do draw a line here because I do actually blame him for something. right? I respect the hell out of Bukayo Saka to bounce back from missing a deciding penalty in a European Championship final to becoming a regular penalty taker that is incredibly successful at it, by the way. That requires a mental fortitude that I am absolutely sure that I don't have, and that the vast majority of us probably don't have, right? And more importantly, we don't have the athletic ability to find out, right? But Bukayo Saka, I think he messed up here. I think that he has been trained so intently about the subtle different things he can do to draw fouls and to draw penalties, a la Jack Grealish, right? Those sneaky guys that know all the tricks in the book in order to draw a foul, particularly in the box, so much so that you almost don't want to get near them. That he had that hardwired into his brain, and he didn't keep playing. And this might haunt him for a long time. So I think it's one of those things that, when you're doing one thing and then your brain spits out the answer, and then while you're in the process of doing it, you realize it's wrong. Like if I've got a cup of water and a bag of peanuts next to me and I'm streaming, I've done this before, and I start reaching because I want peanuts, and I realize too late that I'm reaching for the water, and gravity does the rest and just dunks my hand in the water, spills water all over the desk, and I'm no closer to eating a peanut, and now I have less water, right? It's an utter catastrophe. It's an ecological disaster. That's what happened with Bukayo Saka here. He was too late in the process of trying to commit to win the penalty, because this man could have actually scored. He could have actually scored this goal. And this is the most interesting thing that people locked in on after the game, because you can watch Bukayo Saka here. He cuts in. He sees Manuel Neuer's coming off. He sends his right leg out and lets it be caught. But when you watch it from this angle, he cuts in, and if he gets skinny, instead of, starfishing his way by Manuel Neuer here, who is not committing a foul, right? Manuel Neuer has his sixth spidey sense for exactly how far he's supposed to come out at all times. As a goalkeeper, it's unbelievable how consistently Manuel Neuer gets it right when he's coming off of his line, right? He just stops at the exact right moment to make sure Bukayo Saka isn't going to get fouled at all. But if he gets skinny, watch where Bukayo Saka's left foot lands, right? Watch where it lands. Bukayo Saka brings his right foot through here and plants on it. Instead of falling, he can score this. It is literally right behind Jesus. I mean, he already had his day on Easter. I don't know why he's getting in the way here too. Unbelievable. Just always when he always needs to be about him here. His foot lands right in the vicinity of that ball. If he plants with his right foot, he can put this ball in the back of the net. It's not the easiest skill in the world. It's something I probably wouldn't be able to do more than 5 times out of 10. But I'd bet the bottom dollar somebody with the agility and the technique of Bukayo Saka is putting that ball in the back of the net the vast majority of the time. And for him and for Arsenal, that is the real pain, is that we have reached a point where world-class players are taught all of the different little tricks at how to draw penalties. And I don't think that that's just a new thing. I think, back since the beginning of time, if you went to the 1924 Olympic Games, you would see players that had nifty little ways to draw fouls and penalties, right? That's just being a good player. But it is definitely taught and institutionalized now in a way where you're overlooking a goal-scoring opportunity here, right? This is a goal that somebody that doesn't have this skill set for drawing penalties would actually have been able to score. And it would have given Arsenal a famous win. It would have given Bukayo Saka a famous goal, and it's an alternate history that is now lost to time. It's fading away. It's blown away in the wind. It makes me sad for the game, and this is really a reason that I think flopping needs to be officiated out of the game. I feel like every conversation we have about penalties, I eventually come back to this, or it's just a really obvious penalty, and I don't know what you guys are upset about. But this is where this has got to be a yellow card. If you don't think this is a penalty, it has to be a yellow card, right? And the obvious flops like Ben White holding his throat because somebody sneezed in his general direction, that should be a red card. It should. And the moment you start doing that, there isn't even going to be a delay. People will stop. They will stop because a red card is a massive punishment. But you don't want to surprise anybody with it. So here's how you do this. You start at the beginning of the season and you go, we are going to punish severe flopping violations with red cards. And we're going to be more stringent about yellows for embellishment. But severe, obvious flopping violations, like you get hit in the shoulder and you pretend you got hit in the head, that's a red. We will send you off. Then you back that up for 1 second. you will have solved the vast majority of these problems. I feel bad for Bukayo Saka. I feel bad for Arsenal fans that this didn't up at the back of the net. Now, there was another chain on this. As the internet, being the cesspit that it is, just decides to go on. I saw this tweet go viral. I just wanted to talk about it. Said this has always been a penalty. Suarez, Kane, Vardy, these guys made careers out of it. Notice the difference between those three and Saka and Sterling. So they're trying to make like a race play here. But let me show you the highlight they quoted. I can't speak to their point more broadly, right? Because I'm not familiar with every single penalty Suarez, Kane, and Vardy have ever drawn. And I don't think any other human being on the face of the earth, including those three guys, is familiar with all of that information, at least a third of it. But the video they actually quoted is hilarious to me. Let's go ahead and watch it. It's Jamie Vardy, and he cuts in, and he gets fouled. And I'm going to be completely honest here. This is a giant foul. And let me tell you why. Where in God's green earth is Jamie Vardy's left leg supposed to go in this situation? Where Bukayo Saka turned into Patrick Star from SpongeBob SquarePants in order to make any contact, right, with Manuel Neuer. And he absolutely could have just stepped around him and very likely scored, right, before that defender that you didn't see in the video that we had, but a defender was kind of closing from the opposite side, meaning another touch would have made things complex. It wouldn't have been the most automatic goal of all time. But where is his left foot supposed to go? So this guy steps on Jamie Vardy's foot. Penalty. Right off the top. But there is, like Jamie Vardy's left leg is coming here. I'm sorry, is he supposed to bend his knees so that his leg, like, this is such an obvious penalty. And so many people liked this tweet. Like, this is such an obvious penalty when people read this and they're like, yeah, you know what? This has always been a penalty. And back to that last point, even if it has always been a penalty, it shouldn't. It's not a penalty, right? Like this should not be a penalty. I don't care if every other referee in the entire history of the game has made the wrong call. You can at least make the right call now. And that's what happened. They made the right call now. And I appreciate them for making the right call now because that means we have an absolutely sumptuous tie in Bavaria that I can't wait for. 2-2, Arsenal, Bayern. We will be there. Well, I'll be there virtually, not actually. You get it.